I'm Jean Conley, and Ann Miller is behind the camera. So we're here to interview Andrea Bartolucci. We call him Buck, and he'll be talking about his winery, the vineyard, and the Carneros AVA. So if you'd like to follow me, we'll get started.
My name is Andrea Louis Bartolucci. My nickname is Buck, and that's what everybody calls me. My family has been involved in growing grapes and making wine in the Napa Valley since 1922, when my grandfather started in the town of Oakville. I knew that this area, because of its climate, was well suited for Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, or early maturing varieties. But you know, if you think about the best vineyards in the world, those people have had generations, hundreds of years to figure out what grows best where. And here's a 26-year-old kid deciding he's going to plant 160 acres and make his best bet. Some I did pretty well and made some pretty decent wine. Some I made some mistakes. I've since replanted the mistakes, hopefully, and made better decisions. But you know, unfortunately, one only gets maybe one or two chances in a lifetime to plant a vineyard because of the time frame it takes from planting it in order to make wine and determine what you've gotten. So I think over generations, you kind of figure this thing out and do a better job every. Initially, when I planted my vineyard, specifically the Pinot Noir planting, the mentality at that time was you wanted to find that clone or that field selection that was going to produce the absolute best wine. So everybody looked at those growers that had a history of producing great wine from their vineyards and getting wood from them, bud wood from them, and propagating their vineyard and starting it. And that's what I did. There was a vineyard up in Oakville next to us that had Pinot Noir. The gentleman was kind enough to let me go select bud wood, and I don't even know the parentage behind it. I know it was it wasn't an overly productive clone, but it made exceptionally good wine. So that was my clonal selection of Pinot Noir that I had, and it was all one clone. In other words, all from one given vineyard, so everything was identical. The wines that it made were very good, but unfortunately the wood had some viruses in it, so over a period of years the vine decreased in productivity, and I was forced to replant. Well, from that initial planting, it's kind of accepted now. There is no perfect clone. What you want to do is have multiple clones and then pull those flavors from each one of those clones. In other words, one clone might give you more fruit character, another clone might give you a little more tannins, another clone might have depth and quality. Each clone kind of has its own little part to add to the overall wine. So as I replanted, I've either field selected or brought in some clones. I've gone with French clones. I have Dijon 113, Dijon 115. Those clones tend to give me the most tannin in my wines. I have Dijon 667 and 777. Those tend to be very fruit forward, give nice structure, nice body, but not quite as tannic as 115. I have some Pommard, which is a French clone. That tends to be real fruit forward. So in Carneros, those flavors tend to be more strawberry and cherry. I also have a field selection of Swan. Swan is a gentleman that has a vineyard or had a vineyard, and the wines that came off there were considered exceptional. So within the range of clones I have, we're able to make the wine in 5-ton lots, keep those lots separate through the aging process, and then take those lots and blend back in whatever portion we feel we want to accomplish. For example, if we're going to make our estate Pinot Noir, we want that more fruit forward, softer, not quite as tannic. If we're going to make a reserve wine, we want a little more tannic, a little more structure and body, because we potentially hope those wines are going to be laid down and aged longer. And that's the concept of what you're trying to accomplish. But the point I'm trying to make here is with multiple clones, it gives the winemaker more options than if you just have one single clone, and I think ultimately you can make a finer wine.